Alright, I'm live. Wayne, you're still connecting.
That's good, right?
Jenny's hair is interfering with my connection.
Whoa!
I'm just kidding.
Jenny,
As
we
we're
should
live.
go live on Wayne again.
Yeah.
It's not taking.
You know why?
Oh. Now, darn it, I'm the one with the volume issue this week. There we go.
You make it go. Mine's going. This is going.
You can edit this out, right?
Oh, yeah. Except everyone that's watching will see.
Hi, everybody
Hi,
that's
everyone.
watching. Sorry about my arm.
Do I have like a rainbow effect filter? No.
You do have some sort of rainbow filter.
Sorry for the close-up
Well,
of my
that's
arm.
fun. This is all fun and games today, people.
Until someone gets hurt.
Until someone loses an eye.
Hi, Stephanie and John.
How
Sorry,
usually
this
goes.
is
I think everyone is fully aware of how long it takes us to get.
no matter how
Before
much we
we
prepare.
Gosh, there's no preparing for live.
There is no preparing for live. Oh, I had 6 people.
All right. Come on, Wayne.
I know I'm holding
People are
everybody
waiting with bated breath to see what we are talking about today.
Right.
Why
Well,
do you-
actually, they know what we're talking about.
Why do you hate me, Facebook?
Why do you hate him?
Okay, you people talk. Talk to your people.
Okay, well,
People. Sup?
we should probably remind everybody that it's the last opportunity to get into this month's drawing for 43 Homes bottle of wine and a dozen cookies.
Plenty of cookies.
Signature wines.
And they're pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, ask questions, comments, real estate related.
Yes, please.
That's either in the comments, private message us to get entered in a drawing, which will take place.
Before our next Wine Wednesday.
Yeah, next week. Next week, because it's Monday. Monday is May 1st.
My goodness.
Yeah, I know, right? Where is it? Holy cow. So, I guess we'll bring in the toast.
Yes.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Here.
Happy Wednesday.
We'll hit Wayne down here.
Happy Wine Wednesday. And everyone should have their glasses at the ready.
Yes. By the way, if you have a white wine that you would recommend that's not Moscato, I would love for some wine recommendations.
We would yeah, I would too. I was going to say we would as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just me over here. So yeah, that would be great. Absolutely, I would.
Hi. Yes, I know.
Oh, you see me. Or do you? So no making faces, because he'll catch us.
He'll know.
He'll know.
So this week's topic.
Home inspections. Not a whole lot to talk about with that, huh?
Oh no,
No.
absolutely nothing. No. So all right, so that was a great topic. Glad everyone could join us. Yeah.
You know, and here's the thing too. I know there are real estate agents watching, so you guys have any comments or anything to say, feel free, because this topic I think is something that is very vast, and there is a lot to discuss
Sorry.
with this, and so that's kind of a cool angle. So TJ's not in it. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot to say about this, and I think we've all had experiences. Any home inspectors that might be watching, because I know there's a few of you out there too, please feel free to chime in.
Yes.
And also leave any interesting stories you have in the comments. Those are always fun to
We
read.
would love to
Ooh,
hear
interesting stories.
Yeah.
We could go on all day about those. But,
We need more wine.
yeah, so let's talk.
Or do we?
Let's get started with the process.
Yes.
So a home inspection is a process, right? So we've got references. If you don't know a home inspector, ask your agent for a good reference for a home inspector who that we've had good luck with or clients have liked in the past. So, but it's a whole process. So let's talk about first maybe like the different kinds of inspections. You can
Well,
do.
hang on. First, I would like to just say one thing, and we've covered this in other ones, but home inspection is going to be an out-of-pocket cost for the buyer.
Right.
So expect that when we are when we're writing our offer, there's a section in there about home inspection. Home inspection is not something that's required, but highly recommended.
Absolutely,
yes.
At least by me, and I'm sure Wayne and TJ as well, and the other
Yep.
agents of 43 Homes,
So,
and hopefully everyone else.
yeah. So, really there's 3 or 4 different, inspections I think they're most common. Your general home inspection, the guy, the generalist is man or woman, I shouldn't say the guy, is going to go through your home and look at everything with a fine tooth comb. They'll check all your outlets, make sure they're grounded, make sure they're wired properly, your electrical box, your HVAC, all the major mechanical stuff that they can get to in the house. They're gonna look at.
Yep.
The roof, foundation, all those good things. So that's one inspection. What are some other the other common ones that you see?
Hot topic, hot buzz right now is radon inspection.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Seems like
Yes.
everybody wants a
Yes.
radon inspection. What
So-
is radon?
Radon is a colorless, odorless gas that has been proven to cause cancer. So, the EPA says that your radon levels in your home should measure 4 or below, and I think it's epicuries per liter is how they measure it. And so it should be 4 or below. Otherwise, the EPA says that the level is too high.
Right.
So it is a hot button. Everybody's testing for it. So not everybody. A lot of people are testing for
A lot
it.
of people choose to test for it. Again, not required, but it is something that's recommended. And note, something that I had learned, I always thought it was a lower level thing, but it isn't. They can also test ranch homes and split level homes as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So radon comes in through cracks in, foundation, basement floors, anywhere there's an opening between your home and the dirt that surrounds your home. It can make its way into the home. So it's just something to consider. Do your own research, determine how concerned you yourself should be for you and or your family, or whoever else is going to occupy the home with you, and determine whether or not that's something that you think that you should inspect for. So ultimately, and that goes back to with all of these things is, we can't tell you what you should and shouldn't inspect
Right.
for. This is all for your level of comfort. So if radon's a concern or whatever the issue is, test for it. Now's your before you buy the home is the time to do it and not after the fact.
Absolutely.
So having that been said, so TJ, what are some other home inspections?
I think the next inspection that a lot of people look for, consider, are the wood damaging insects and pests.
Yep.
So carpenter ants, termites, carpenter bees, anything
Yep.
that's going to go in and have a snack on the wood in your home.
Yes. And your generalist home inspector, will likely say, show you signs as they're looking at the home if they see it.
Right.
They will say something along the lines, this looks like either a current or past, infestation. And there are signs that they look for, to determine whether or not, that it is a current or previous problem.
Right.
And then there is the actual inspection report, which will detail specifically where they found it in the home and any recommendations they may have as far as either treating it or if there was significant damage to a part of the home. So that is another common one. What other inspections?
I had some clients that bought a house that had a pool and a hot tub, and they decided that they wanted to have those inspected. And it was a good thing in their situation because there were some issues with the pool that they would not have discovered had they not had the inspection.
Yeah, so know your inspector, your general inspector is a generalist, just that, is that they're not an expert in any one category. So if there are specific items in your home that are not necessarily in every home, like a swimming pool or a exterior sewer system, where it's, there's like leach beds and
Well and
septic, and all of those things. So, if you have things that are less common like those, it is a good idea to find somebody that's more of an expert in that field.
Yeah. So with that, well and septic can be inspected
Yes.
as
Right.
well. That's an important
And I think a very important one, because that's not, if it's failing or it is not up to standard, can be a very expensive fix. So
Yeah.
not something you want to be surprised
And
with.
sometimes well water can be bad. I've run
Right.
into that as well. When the well was inspected and the water was not.
Or the quality of the well.
Right.
So
Yeah, because they can check for 2 different tests with the well. They can do a pressure test to make sure you're getting enough water through your pipes.
Right.
They can also run a test for bacteria
Right.
or other
Check
contaminants.
the
Yes.
quality, right?
it's
Right.
all very important. And I closed the house down in Circleville. They did that stuff. Luckily, everything came back clean.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
Um,
Another one that I've run into several times in central Ohio, and depending on the age of the house, sometimes is structural engineer.
Yes,
Foundation
very good point.
inspection.
Good point.
So,
and that, I mean, a lot of people, you walk through a house, and again, this is all with a disclaimer: we're not structural engineers, but we've been through enough inspections to at least have some sort of idea of when it's potentially cause for concern. Obviously, if you're seeing cracks and the cracks are open, quite a bit along the walls, and the walls are just
you
like,
can see bowing.
yeah, I mean, there are obvious signs. A lot of times, over the course of a home's life, there's going to be settling in any home. So, some cracks along, where you'll see it a lot of times in the mortar joints of like a block foundation. Some of that is common. So, when you're viewing a house and you see that stuff, I've had a lot of first-time home buyers see that, and there's a crack in the foundation.
Right.
So everybody immediately assumes crack in the foundation is a significant problem. Again, if it's something that concerns you, having a structure, and there are engineers who do home inspections, so they'll do your whole home inspection and then also have the qualification to give you an opinion about the structure
Right.
and whether or not it's sound or if there are repairs that should be made. So
You said something important that I think some people tend to overlook, and that's they are qualified to inspect that
Yes.
item. Not
Yes.
all inspectors are created equal.
Yes.
And you want someone inspecting something that they're qualified and they've received training in.
yes,
Because you're putting a lot of money into this investment,
Well-
and it's where you and your family are going to live.
And interestingly enough, I will admit that I was not aware of, inspectors are not licensed.
No.
I mean,
Honestly,
you,
I
don't know.
no. So there is, I mean,
now there are associations, there
Right.
are memberships,
Yes.
there are qualified
and
people out
certifications
there.
that
Yes.
they can get, but a lot of times I find home inspectors are past developers,
Contractors.
general contractors, people who have a broad knowledge of homes, how they're built, and what to look for, or electricians
Right.
even. So usually they have some sort of special qualification that is their area of expertise.
Right.
But not one person. It's like if you call an attorney or a doctor, usually there's some sort of specialist, right? Somebody that's more focused on a particular area of the law or of healthcare. So, in those regards, if you're seeing cracks in the foundation and that throws up red flags to you, then definitely call in a home structural engineer. So-
Right, right. Instructional engineer is qualified.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I see a question here from Dana Mack. Hi, Dana. Dana asked about carbon monoxide, and that is another a good one. So carbon monoxide is another colorless, odorless gas that's harmful if in high concentrates, make it into your system. And a lot of times it comes from your furnace. A cracked heat exchanger, other parts of your homes can start leaking carbon monoxide and poison you, and actually can be deadly. So it's not just a cancer causer; it's something in the wrong situation can really cause significant harm. So, inspectors can set up a test for carbon monoxide. Oftentimes, I would recommend getting a carbon monoxide monitor for your home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen that requested
Yeah.
in inspections. Make sure that there's one.
Especially for older furnaces. If
Right.
you're living in a home where there's an older furnace, and inspectors will generally tell you a furnace, its expected life is about 25 years.
Yeah.
I have found, though, if you have regular service and you keep your furnace well maintained, they can last much
Yes,
longer than 25
certainly,
years.
certainly.
However, just like anything with age, like my old body here starts to break down now that edging towards the mid to upper 40s here, and
20s.
Jenny, 29.
27.
Oh, 27. Sorry. But
It's really old.
yeah. So, but as mechanisms age, they become more vulnerable for failure. So, carbon monoxide for an older furnace especially, I think is a good idea to get a monitor.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, are there any other? I mean, can you think? There probably are any inspectors out there. Feel free to
Chimney
chime in.
inspections.
Chimney, yeah, blacksmith. Yep.
You know, when we bought our house, we were
Chimney. What's
The
the?
blacksmith makes iron.
Yeah.
What's the
there's actually a chimney company, Blackburn's Chimney. That may be what you're thinking of.
chimney sweep?
Chimney sweeps.
That's what it's
Yeah.
called.
But you
And
know,
if you're going to use the fireplace, especially as wood burning, I think that's a particularly good idea.
Yes, yeah.
Because, you know, obviously fire, not good in the right areas. So, you know, getting it inspected and before you're going to use it as a wood burner or even as a gas
Yeah.
fireplace,
Yeah.
I think a good idea to get those closely looked at. So,
so you've picked your inspector or inspectors.
And inspections.
They've come through. They're there at the house. What's
Yep.
what's going to happen now when we're on site?
so before we get generally, you know, in your contract, there's going to be a window to perform these inspections.
Right.
So I generally write in, barring holidays and other, you know, things that would maybe draw out or, you know, that when we need an extended period. 10 days is usually what I'll write into a contract for inspection. So during that 10 days, that's your chance. And one we didn't bring up is lead-based paint. So we'll come back to that too. But
Circle back around.
but in any case, so get all your inspections done, whether it's any of these items that we just talked about, get them done during that inspection period. Because prior to the end of that inspection period, you need to send what's called your request to remedy, and we'll talk about that in a minute, to
Right.
your buyer. Or if you find something that caused you to have second thoughts, you're not happy with the condition of the home, that it's more than just cosmetic, you can also terminate the contract, but it has to be within that inspection period.
Right. So remember at the beginning of this whole thing, we said that there's a section in the contract. This is an important section to read because
Yes.
these things are outlined in there. There's a blank space. We write the amount of days allowed, which is what Wayne is referring to, 10 days, 12 days, whatever it might be. That's good for everyone. And we pick that amount of days, and that is the inspection period. And then a little bit further down in that section, you're talking about the remedy period.
Yes.
So that's another amount of days,
Yes.
usually 5 days. You want to allow enough time to get estimates for the seller. So yes, get
All built into the standard Columbus Board of Realtors contract.
contract.
Yes.
Right.
If your agent writes the days in, because it is a fill in the blank. So as you're signing these things,
Right.
as Jenny mentioned, closely monitor your contract. Don't just trust us. You know, we are humans and we do occasionally make mistakes. It's not common, but just for your own protection, it is your contract. You sign it. Check and make sure the days are written into the contract. And I've had instances where I've received a contract, there were no days written in, and that means that the buyer is not entitled to an inspection.
Right. Yeah.
So you've automatically waived it. And then after the fact, the agent called and said, I messed up, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and if the buyer's or seller is reasonable, they may allow it, but know that they are not obligated. So
Right.
at that point,
So read your contract.
yes,
Yes.
and we'll say that.
Read
I
your
think
offer.
Read your contract, read your offer, and we'll probably say that every one of these.
Yes.
So
It's kind of.
yes, it's very important. So now back to what was your question?
So now we've chosen the contractor. We're doing everything within our time period. It's inspection day.
Yep.
Now, some inspections will start before inspection day, like a radon test. I know that they have to leave in the house so long. Other
They need
types
a
of
couple of
tests.
days for that,
Yes.
right?
But this is
So don't wait till if your 10-day period is 10 days, don't wait till the 10th day to schedule your inspection. Because if you want to inspect for radon, it takes 48 hours, and
Right.
then you're too late.
So this is the big inspection day. This is the day that the inspectors are there. What are they going to do, and what's the client to expect that day?
Well, it's usually a couple of hours at least, and they will again. And I think every inspector is different, so you know, definitely get a feel for what your inspector's going to do. Ask, are you required to be there? Do you want to be there? But typically, the inspectors that I have worked with are there for maybe an hour, a couple of hours. Then the clients show up, and who would be the buyers. And they go over everything with them, what they found, you know, and again, it's very high level. Inspectors are not, like Wayne had said, inspectors are not experts in any one thing. They are kind of very general. So, you know, they're up on the roof, they're looking at electric, they're looking at all the HVAC system, pipes, walls. Dana Mack also commented on mine. And what he said, a very good point. They're looking for water spots. I mean,
Yes.
is there water seeping through somewhere?
Gutters and downspouts.
Yeah, I mean,
And is
it's
that water spot still wet? Is it an active leak?
Mhm.
right. They have a tool to see if there's moisture in the drywall or in the ceiling. So
Yeah.
yeah. So you'll be there with them, and you'll be
You
going
should,
over-
and that's a good point. And
Yeah.
expect that you are there during the inspection because
and allow for a couple of hours. So if it's in the middle of the day that you schedule this,
yes,
it's important. You should want to be there. You should want to know the ins and outs of your house. You want to be there with the inspector. You want to know, because when you're reading something on paper and you haven't been there, you may get in panic mode. And we'll cover that too. But you don't understand what's going on. Whereas if you were there in person with the inspector, they might say, hey, you know what, this is what's going on, but don't worry about it. Some
They'll
of
tell
this
you
is the
how
age of the
severe,
house. Yeah,
I know
some
a
of
lot
it
of times
is
they'll-
home ownership.
They'll flag them as a material defect. Those are the ones that you want to have
Yeah.
usually, normally, most people have a higher level of concern with those.
and I have a company that inspects and they'll give kind of a breakdown of 3 areas. Items for immediate concern.
Right.
Items to keep an eye on, and things we found that are common and maybe not of that big of a concern. So kind of like a red, yellow, green
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of rating system. So, but it is important to hear it straight from the inspector's mouth. I find,
Right, I think
because
so too.
Absolutely.
you're going to get a 30-page report in most cases, and sometimes longer. They'll have pictures, everything will be detailed, but there's nothing like hearing it straight from the person.
Right.
And then if you're there and you have questions, that's when you get your questions answered. So plan on the time. I use a company that has 2 people do the inspection. So they start one
Right.
person outside, one person inside, and for smaller, like a condo, they can usually do it in about an hour because they've split up responsibilities. Bigger homes and stuff, it does take an hour and a half to 2 hours. So, find somebody in your level of comfort, not just on speed, but there are people that can get them done. And I've had inspections too that last over 3 hours. So,
Yeah.
And remember that this inspection is scheduled, and it's scheduled, and the seller is normally not there. So, you need to be considerate of the fact that the seller is going to return. So, don't show up late
Right.
and then drag it out so that your 2-hour inspection becomes a 5-hour inspection if it doesn't need to be.
Right.
but during that 10-day window, the general inspection is the most important one. You'll be there. If the radon test will come back, your general inspector usually will get those back and send them to you. So the other inspections, maybe not as important unless you're calling, maybe your general inspector said, hey, this crack in the foundation is a little beyond what I think is normal. You might want to consult a structural engineer.
And another reason for it to not wait until the 10-day period is up. I mean, you've got 10 days or 12 or
Yes.
whatever it might be.
And I've got
You may
remedy-
need to call in other people.
I've got remedy requests from buyer's agents before that says investigate. Have investigated by a structural. It's not my job as the seller
Right.
to investigate. That was your job during the 10-day window. That was your chance to have your inspections done. It is no longer incumbent upon the seller,
Right.
Right.
really, to do
Absolutely.
any more invest unless the exceptions I find are. For instance, I just had an inspection and the basement was finished, and they have a moisture meter they place on the wall, on the drywall. It was on the basement. It was clearly damaged by water. The drywall was still a little bit moist, and they put the moisture meter
Right.
on there, and the moisture levels came back really high. During the home inspection, obviously, we can't cut out drywall,
Right.
because it's not my buyer's home. So,
Right.
we did in that case ask that the seller cut out the section of drywall, investigate for mold, which that is another inspection we did not talk about.
No, yeah.
But investigate for mold, identify the cause of the water intrusion, and to remedy it as necessary. So there are cases where the seller, you can ask for that. But if it is open and obvious, that's your chance during that time to have the inspection done and to find out a qualified opinion.
Right. So, okay, inspections are all completed. Now, as a buyer, what's the next step? What happens now?
your next step is to sit down and figure out what you want the seller to, assuming you're okay with moving forward, you could terminate. So let's say you found out you had a structural engineer come in, they said, you know what, this house is unsafe, the foundation is unsafe, it's going to collapse. If you had an issue like that, you could walk
Or it's
away.
going to cost $20,000
Right.
to repair it. You know,
Seller won't repair. You don't want to repair.
or you just don't like the idea of having a $20,000 repair done, and that scares you.
Yeah.
You know,
You can terminate.
Yeah. Comes down to if you're not satisfied with the condition of the property.
and that is exactly how it's
Yeah.
written in the contract. If you find
Read
yourself,
the contract.
yes, and a good agent has read that. But but it does say, you know, if you're not fully satisfied with the current condition of the
Right.
home,
You
one
can
of the
get-
options, as TJ mentioned, is the buyer may terminate.
With that being said, though,
Let's assume.
I want to keep the house.
Yeah, I want to keep
I
the
wanna
house. I
go
still
for it.
like the house, but you know what? There are things that I'm unsatisfied with. So I, as the buyer, am going to ask you, Jenny, as the seller, through our agents, to please do it through your agents, to repair certain items. And when I write a remedy request for my clients, I always say by a licensed and certified contractor, professional.
Sure.
Because
Now,
you don't want their cousin who's done some electrical work in his own house, who's not a licensed electrician, to come in and rewire something.
I think that leads into a really good point. Now, there's going to be a lot of items on the inspection that may or may not be reasonable to ask for.
Yes.
So, I will write whatever it is for the most part that you want to ask for. However, with that being said, there are also some things that I think would be reasonable to expect the seller that can take care of them themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You may not want to bring in a plumber every time for, say what?
A fixture
A fixture needs tightening.
or replaced.
Yeah,
Or-
like maybe the toilet is loose, and all you need to do is screw down those little screws that are on the side. That's
Yeah.
perhaps you do want
No.
a plumber to take care of that.
There, I
But
think there are things that, without exception, that they need to be licensed. Electrical, I think, number one.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Because, in a lot of cases, electrical, directly relates back to risk for fire.
yes,
And again, fire in the home, not a good thing. So, having a licensed electrician beyond, these minor things, like screwing the toilet down or replacing a faucet
well,
fixture.
I had one where the plate on the outlet was loose. I mean, I don't know that an
And
inspector
the
needs to come
inspector
in
probably
or
said
not
licensed
inspector.
electrician.
Yeah, and a licensed
Yeah.
electrician doesn't need to
No.
screw that a little bit tighter.
Or if it's missing one,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
just replace it.
I think that you need to be reasonable and look at these things. You're paying an inspector to do a job, and it's a very important job that they're doing. But there will be some inspectors that maybe are very detailed in what they're writing in this report, and then there are some that may not be as alarmist, perhaps, is the
Yes.
way to say it. I don't know.
There's a happy medium.
There is,
There.
yeah. And
I've had inspectors before, that I used to recommend, that I don't recommend anymore because the inspection isn't intended to scare you. It's intended to inform you.
right.
And a good inspector should be able to tell you, at least on a basic level, how concerned you should be about this.
Right.
Is this something that is going to cause the house to collapse or catch fire or flood? Those are things obviously that are major concerns. So not freaking out over a leaking plumbing fixture or something that's just very minor. And we've all owned our homes for
Or
a while,
it's-
so you
and
get used to homeowners.
It's functioning but old.
Yes.
Yeah.
The furnace is 10 years old, shows no signs that it's not working well. I would advise my client that it's probably unreasonable to ask for a new furnace.
Yeah, I mean,
Or you want a tankless water heater, and the current water heater is fine. Probably unreasonable.
Yeah.
so yeah.
The only time you should ask for something to be replaced is if it is fully not functional
Right.
or a health or safety hazard.
Right.
Exactly.
So, I've seen that before, where the furnace is old and the buyer's just worried that it's going to just give out. As a seller's agent, I'll often advise my sellers, buy them a home warranty. That'll cover them for a year. As the new owner of the home. When that warranty expires, you're free to renew it if you are continued to be concerned about it. But as you're viewing homes, these are things you should be looking at. Before you even write an offer, you should at least have an idea. And usually you can tell with furnaces or air conditioners. If it's all rusted out, and you're looking at the home, it's old, and you're probably going to have to replace it at some point. So that should be factored into, at some level, I think, your initial offer. So.
Sure. And if it's something like age of these things are going to scare you, maybe you don't want to be looking at that 100-year-old house. Not that an HVAC system is going to be 100 years old. But with that being said, there's an area here that may still have a boiler system in place. And that's how they used to heat the house. And there's going to be asbestos wrapped around those pipes. Well, if it's not coming apart, it's not an issue. You don't need to ask for asbestos remediation to happen if there's not a problem. I mean, sometimes there's things...
sometimes you can make it worse by addressing it.
Right. So,
absolutely.
And we can help you with that. We can talk about those things. If there's something maybe that you're concerned about now that didn't seem as big a concern, call the inspector again. Talk about it. This is not a be-all, end-all. It's a process. So things that are concerning, call your inspector, call your agent, call in an expert if it's something that you're not sure of.
Right.
So we've discussed the things, the items with you that you want to have remedied. We've talked about, what it is, how you want it to be taken care of. What's the next step?
So then we write a list up, we send it to the buyer or seller's agent and ask for important items to be repaired. And again, I highlight the word important.
Right.
Every home, whether it's 1 year old or 100 years old or older, is going to have a litany of issues that an inspector is going to identify. So, find out or determine in your mind what are the important issues. And a lot of this comes down to, in this market, it's a seller's market. So the seller probably has backups. They've had other people who've expressed interest. If the home is especially in, a highly desirable area, so the leverage lies on the side of the seller at this point in time. So being more reasonable in your request. Now, having that been said, the seller has no right to terminate the contract because you send it what may be determined or deemed an unreasonable response. The seller has no right to terminate the contract. They can choose not to respond to your remedy request, but you put your remedy request out to the seller. The seller either responds, doesn't respond, or by the end, you don't come to an agreement. Like you should, there is some sort of back and forth with this.
Right.
Just like when you negotiated the price and all that other stuff initially. Was that the camera?
It was my camera.
Okay. Because Dana Matt said he's coming, so I wasn't sure if it was the door or the camera. But in any case, it'll be back and forth, and hopefully you come to an agreement with the seller of what will or won't be fixed. Yeah, will you unlock that door in case he comes by?
Excuse me.
So, we'll negotiate those things. We'll do it on your behalf. I mean, things like, I've had buyers want to ask for things like recaulking the tub. Okay, is that really, a defect? It really needs to be a defect. If the caulking is old, it's moldy, and it's causing a leak down into a lower level, that's a defect that probably should be remedied because it's causing bigger problems. Just because you don't like the way it looks, it can't be cosmetic things is really the important thing. It has to be material defect and not just cosmetic.
So that's good that you're talking about this because, well, there it is.
I'm trying to segue.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'm
Are we segueing?
Yeah, I was just
okay.
segueing.
All right.
James is out,
So
so my segue wasn't smooth. Sorry.
I was unlocking a door for Dana Matt, who's supposed to be here. Dana?
Where
Anyway.
Bueller?
Anyway, Matt Caudell has asked, a recent repair, now he will be a seller, so a recent repair to an upstairs leak has left an area downstairs needing a patch. We just had our painter repair who did a job, and it blends but not perfect. So should we bring in a pro to attempt a better job prior to listing? That was almost a tongue twister.
That is an excellent question,
Yeah.
by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
So, do you want to take a stab at the answer?
Well, I'd like to hear what you guys would say.
Well, my opinion is when you're listing a home, the saying you only get the one chance to make a first impression
Right.
is key. It is probably a red flag to someone that there was already a problem, and if it doesn't match the rest, it probably, in my opinion, is worth having it fixed back to its original state.
Yeah, and I actually would have said that exactly as well, because when you're looking at these ceilings, and this is an Ohio thing. Well, it's certainly a Columbus, Central Ohio thing, where I used to live in the Chicago area. We had flat ceilings. Here we have this like design all over. There's texture all over. So when something gets repaired, as Matt is asking about, it can be pretty obvious when it doesn't match the rest of the ceiling.
But you know, I think that first of all, you'll probably end up disclosing that the leak
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
residential property disclosure.
Right.
But what I think it shows, more importantly, is the care that you've taken in the house, and whether or not anytime an issue's arisen, have you taken care of it appropriately,
Right.
or have you just sort of done it
Put
just
it in
good
there.
enough?
Yeah.
And that is going to put an impression in someone's mind as they go through the house. And they're like, well, what am I not seeing?
Right.
Well, I'll find that, when they see stuff like that, they start looking deeper, right? Because they're like, okay, this is what they did here. What did they do in other places? So
Yeah.
they'll start looking closer. When I say they, buyers are starting to look closer at other potential issues in the home.
Yeah.
So,
So
very,
yes.
very, very, very good question. Thank you. So
And we recommend yes.
Yes.
that is the short
So-
answer.
Get her done.
Yeah.
As it were.
And it's something that's probably only cost you a minor amount of money.
Yeah. Better now so that
Yeah. And again, that property disclosure, you will disclose it. It's not like you're trying to cover up something that's wrong.
right.
You had it repaired, this was the fix, and this is what you
Yeah.
did, and you move on. So.
And I think that this is really sort of the last big negotiation. It is the last big negotiation you have, really, for the most part, unless something comes up.
Yeah.
I've had sellers who go ahead and fix everything that they want, who pick and choose and do a response, or who say, you know what, I just really don't want to deal with that, but I'll, offer you something else, like a concession at closing or lower the price or
Right.
something like that. So realize that because you ask for it doesn't mean you're going to get it, and you need to be willing to potentially have that give and take back and forth, because it's still a negotiation.
There's a lot of ways to negotiate this
Yes.
as well to make all sides happy.
And I've had some people who prefer, a lot of times you'll get an offer of a closing cost credit in lieu of making
Right.
repairs.
Mhm.
Because at this point, the seller, they've got packing to do, they're finding their own home, they're moving out. The last thing they want to do, and they've probably done work to get the home ready, the last thing a lot of times they want to do is more work.
Right.
So they'll offer, an X amount of dollars towards your closing costs, instead of doing the repairs that you asked for. And I've had buyers that prefer that, because when you get the seller to do it, they have their contractors and they're doing it to their standard.
Yep.
And buyers sometimes would rather know who they've hired, because you're the one going to live in the house, and would rather be the one hiring those people and having the repair done the way you want it.
Sometimes also we run into an issue with timing. You
Yes.
may be closing before that expert or the repair person can get out there. And I run into this all the time with radon systems. I mean, the radon mitigation company is just so overwhelmed and so busy, they're not going to be able to get out for a couple of months, and the contract's going to close. So sometimes you pay ahead. I'll pay that contractor, I'll pay the repair person, and then you have the invoice that shows it's been paid, and then you, as the buyer, can arrange for the at your convenience
just like inventory is at a historic low, I think
Yeah.
construction's at a historic high.
Yeah.
And not just like new home building, but road construction.
Yeah.
So the skilled trades and skilled tradesmen are and women are
People.
the tradespeople thing. That's the easy way to say it.
Persons.
Are the are very busy.
Yeah.
And getting someone in your, usually at this point, 30 days is a typical close for a conventional loan. You took 10 days to get your inspection, took a few days to get the remedy. Now you're really left with like 2 weeks
Right.
to have repairs done. And usually there's a 48-hour, walkthrough prior to closing. Then your repairs need to be done prior to the 48-hour. So you've got less than 2 weeks to get these repairs done. So timing can be a major factor in what happens. So any other things that we?
I do have one question.
Sure.
Are inspections always optional?
Yes.
Depending on loan type.
Ah, he's trying to.
Loan type.
He was
Oh,
he was leading us.
you.
I was.
You, TJ.
Well, we've just been talking about conventional loans, but in some instances, they're not going to be.
Yes.
Like with a VA loan, for example, you have to have that termite inspection.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
seller can't pay for it, or
Your
buyer
buyer can't pay for it.
Right.
So-
So yeah, very, very. Bring it in.
And with FHA, they're going to be sending in their own inspector / appraiser who's going to be looking for specific issues that would have to be remedied before closing.
I think that's a really, really good point too, and that's kind of getting into another issue that perhaps we will have on Wine Wednesday at Real Estate about appraisal. But a lot of appraisals lately have gotten kind of inspection-y in what they're looking at, and it's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, you know,
particularly for FHA and VA.
yeah, and I would think mostly for that government-based loans, and they're looking
Because
for
there are
things
higher
to
levels
code.
of standard.
Yeah, and so, perhaps a railing that is not on the staircase where it should be, the appraiser might
More
say.
than 3 steps is going to require a handrail.
Yeah. I had peeling paint, and it had been noticed during the inspection, but it's not something that either party felt. But guess what? That appraiser said lead-based paint hazard because of the age of the house. So.
And I think as a buyer's agent, it's important for us as agents to understand what appraisers are going to be looking for during the inspection, their appraisal. I think there are some agents who will, because it's another point of negotiation, right?
Right.
Going through. So if I'm looking for peeling paint, cracking the foundation, all this stuff, and then we've got this other litany of issues that we're going to ask for. Maybe we don't ask for, termite remediation, or we don't ask for the peeling paint to be removed during our remedy request,
Right.
because we know the appraiser is going to bring it up. That's a little sneaky to me. So I think as a good buyer's agent, the buyer's agent should be aware of common issues that an FHA or VA appraisal is going to flag, so that they can make the recommendation that, look, as you're doing your remedy request, you say to the seller's agent, look, this stuff is going to come up in the appraisal. You should get it remedied now, because what's going to happen, especially for VA, the VA appraiser can flag, like Jenny mentioned, peeling paint or missing handrails. So they flag that stuff, and then they have to come back out and certify that those repairs were made, and that becomes a condition of your loan, and your loan won't be issued until those repairs are made. So
No concessions.
each time they come out,
It's
costs
gotta get
more
repaired
money.
then.
Like in a
Yeah.
VA loan, the buyer can't be the one that pays for those additional trips by the appraiser. I had an instance where it was a VA loan. There was a retaining wall that was leaning. There was peeling paint, and they flagged seriously 5 things that passed the inspection period that had to be repaired. They came back 3 times,
Oh my goodness.
and each time they came, it was an additional $100, and that was out of my seller's pocket. So,
But when you write that remedy request, as the buyer's agent, when I write the remedy request, first of all, they know that you have an FHA or VA loan.
Right.
Because you disclose that at the very beginning of your offer. But I will put repair peeling paint in the garage because this could be an FHA issue. And if you
And
just
get it done before the appraiser gets there.
right,
Because,
because everybody knows then.
It just prolongs everything at that point then.
and that's one, like TJ said, I think you can't, it's not gonna be a condition where you can say, I'll give you $100 at closing to have the paint
Right,
repaired.
no, it's
The
gonna have
bank
to
will
be.
require that it's done
Yeah.
before you close. And if the appraiser comes and it still gets flagged, then the appraiser's gonna have to come back a second time.
So, one of my friends put JK at the end, but he wants to know about neighborhoods with great newspaper deliverers, and I think those are always important as a former paper boy.
Is
That's an
do
inspection issue, I
inspectors
know.
inspect for that? Hey, we're talking about home inspections today,
Hey.
not neighborhoods. That was a few weeks
You
back.
don't get drawing credit for that. I know what you were trying
While
to
it
do.
is real estate related, though, technically, all right, you're in.
Nice try.
Jeez,
Just-
sneaky, you guys.
Yes,
Getting
yes.
sneaky.
Any other things that you can think of? I think we may have.
I think
Done.
we have pretty well.
this one.
Yeah, we've covered this one. But again, like always, if you have questions, concerns, statements,
Yep.
real estate related,
At Jenny Reeds. Right.
real estate related.
Yes. Love advice, whatever.
I can help.
Yes.
Oh, my
We'll take callers next week on the line. So
Hello? Yeah.
That would be fun if we had callers.
Yes.
But what if no one calls?
I know,
We'll have
right?
to set up ahead of time.
Yeah.
We'll have someone in the background calling. You'll just
Guys,
hear.
my cousin Misty just joined. She is in the hospital right now because she just had a baby.
Oh, congratulations.
So, congratulations, Misty.
Cheers
We'll
to
drink
the
more
baby.
wine for you.
Yeah.
Cheers!
Cheers,
For the
Misty.
baby. That's
Hopefully-
exciting. Oh,
This is awkward.
Yeah.
Always is.
So, anyways,
What else? would
again,
you
look
say?
us up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
send us
yeah.
questions,
All the
call us.
Facebook, every social media
And,
outlet.
we will be glad to answer. So,
Yes.
Thanks again.
Until
All
next
right,
week.
guys.
On Wednesday.
Thank
See you
you.
next Wednesday.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. God, I've got heavy shoes on today.